And here we are once again for the fourth part. Technically, episode 4, since we did have the.
Oh, we snuck one in.
Yeah, we snuck one in that wasn't an official map making, world building, etc. Type video, but that's all right. So, technically, welcome everyone to episode 4 or part 4.
Right, but that video, what do we call it? Map reviews or something like that.
Yeah.
Had everything to do with what we're talking about, right? I mean, it was
Very much so.
In fact, I would say go watch it because it's got some interesting commentary and some interesting ideas, thoughts about our. Oh, I guess you would say our inspiration, our
Preference.
competition.
Yeah, competition.
I mean,
well, if you're in the fantasy world, it's just outright competition, for sure. Which, funny part of that, there may be a short that releases on it, but I was going through some fantasy books that I own and came across one that just has no map whatsoever. But
Really?
but I do know for a fact that there are people traveling places because I made it like a third of the way through the book, and so it's like people are going places, and there are separate storylines in different locations, but because there is no map whatsoever, I'm like, I have no clue what any of this is.
yeah, that's
And I was gonna say it's been too long now since I can remember reading a direction of like they went south or north or whatever it was. I would have to like go back in the early chapters and find it, but that's just another reason why I'm just kind of like, I guess it's all right. But once again, preferences.
well, that video was all about that, though. I mean, really, it was us talking about the relevancy or the relevance of maps, the need for maps. So if as it pertains to fantasy, especially, but if you're interested in that kind of thing, go watch the video and give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us become a sub, and you know what to do. We're trying to build this channel. We're starting. We just started. We're on part 4. This will be the 5th video, right? And
Yeah,
then we've
yeah.
got a lot of shorts, and we appreciate everyone tuning in, and we just would love ideas and love feedback, commentary, all of that good stuff. It's really interesting that you brought that up about the maps and whether they're needed in certain books. Like I was reading a thing on Facebook this morning on one of the channels that I subscribe to, or pages, I guess, and it was talking about Star Wars being a fantasy, which I stopped and thought, oh, I wonder what Cody thinks of that, because you're as equal a Star Wars fan as I am. And they were equating it to, or they were talking about how, in a galaxy a long, time ago, far, far away, whatever. What's the first line? In a galaxy?
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can see how people would come to that conclusion, but I never thought so. And one of the descriptors of Star Wars that I actually do not like at all, I kind of loathe it, is when people are just like, yeah, it's just space wizards, man. And I'm like, what the hell did you just say?
Space opera. That's what
Yeah, it's
Lucas
like, no,
called
it's a
it, right?
space opera. And
Yeah.
it's just like back when the Force actually meant something, I'm looking at you, Disney, that when it couldn't just do everything under the sun, whenever there were rules to it, you could attribute it, I guess. It was it was what it was. It was the Force. You could have telekinetic abilities, to an extent, some sort of telepathic abilities, and there were general rules which really helped keep it in the sci-fi realm. But now, years and years and years later from the original trilogy, 2 significant things have happened that have changed that, and not all for the better, in my opinion. So the first thing that happened was the Clone Wars cartoon came out, or animated came out, and they added real, actual, like, magic into the world, like, outside of the Force,
Right.
which was bothersome to me. As well as introducing a bunch of other things, because what's his name? I can't even remember his name anymore, that the creator of that, who is also the creator of the Ahsoka series, he wants to be Lord of the Rings so bad that to the point where it's his OC is literally just a stand-in for Gandalf, because later on she becomes Ahsoka the White, and I'm like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, it's just copy.
And they introduce magic, and they have like avatars of the Force, this and that, blah, blah, blah. So that was one thing that I was like, I think that did damage to the franchise, actually. But it does push it more towards that it's a fantasy now, because they just implemented a ton of fantasy elements to it. The second thing that happened was they made the Force do everything.
Heal.
It can heal.
Yeah.
You can extract information from people's minds. There's literally not a whole lot that you can do, and just anyone who tries hard enough can learn the Force now.
Yes.
It's not even about being Force sensitive. So it's like, okay, so why should I take stock in any of this? Because none of it's special anymore. Sorry, that was my 2-cent rant. But all in all, no, I don't think Star Wars is a space fantasy, though they've pushed it more that direction.
Well,
now.
And again, the reason I brought it up was because, again, we're talking about maps and how relevant they are to the impact or lack of impact in a fantasy book, which is where our channel is all about, really. But you start to really, like you said, it's trying everything to be Lord of the Rings. Jedi mind trick becomes a Vulcan mind meld. I mean, everything starts to bleed together. So it really demands us to try to be different, try to bring something different to the table with our magic systems, with our characters, with our worlds, and with our maps. The only other thing I was going to say about Star Wars, and they were talking about it being a fantasy, they were equating it to somehow trying to equate it to where does Earth and our timeline fit into that.
Yeah.
But I think, if I'm not mistaken, and here we are, late November, I saw a preview for Skeleton Crew with Jude Law. Mm-hmm. Does that make you think they're doing that? Like bringing people from our world into? I mean, it looks like that. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. I just saw suburban neighborhoods.
I know, and it's like
Star Wars universe, and I was like, no, I'm fine.
Yes,
thank you, I'm fine.
But I think that's what they're doing.
They could be. I was gonna say that at this point, I think they're getting desperate for something to be a home run and really get out there.
But
so they could be.
Right, it's Jude Law, right? That's in it.
Yeah.
Great actor.
Fantastic.
Surely
actor.
they wouldn't waste something like that or something less than great on him, but they've done worse. Yes, they would.
They absolutely would.
They have done it before, and they'll do it again.
Yeah.
Well, needless to say, all of that is, around our water cooler talk, right? What are we talking about? And, when we're talking about fantasy, what's going on in our world? What's going on in the fantasy realm? I think one of the biggest things right now is the anticipation of Wind and Truth. Is that right? Is it that the name of Sanderson's latest Stormlight book?
Yes, I believe
comes out this
so.
Next month, December?
I think so. And it is supposed to be hella long, I think. If it's what I'm thinking of, I could be thinking of a different one, but I saw like somebody looking at the audiobook version of it, the length of time, and it is
it's going to be long. It's going to be long. I wonder if it's 2,000 pages.
Probably. Gosh. I was going to say that will be the bigger anticipation right now in the fantasy world as far as fantasy books go. I don't know of anything else that's too high up on the pedestal right now, but I have also kind of been out of pocket here in this past a couple weeks or so as far as fantasy books go.
You mean you're not on the edge of your seat waiting for Winds of Winter?
I was on the edge of my seat, and then I had to go to the other edge because my cheek was getting numb. But then that cheek got numb, and then I was like, you know what? We're just going to sit down in the middle of this seat.
Well, God love him. I mean, I'll give it to him. He's got great maps. I don't know if he did them. I'm sure he had some hand in it, but great maps as we discussed last video. Go back and watch that video. In fact, while you're there, go ahead and like, subscribe,
turn on notifications,
leave a comment, tell someone else about what we're doing here. And again, our intros and outros on these videos are us, talking about what we are, who we are, what we're doing in this little niche world of fantasy nerds and map builders, novelists, everything that goes along with this realm. We're going to touch on it. We're going to touch on it from our perspective, and really touch on it from the perspective of create. That's what we're here to do. So we want to show you part 4 of this series, which is map making, from start to finish. Really, this is from blank paper and pencil to finished product, thereabouts. So in this video, we take a little bit different twist or turn technique, and I'm going to do a lot of fleshing out of the map, and I'm going to do it in hyperdrive. I'm going to do it fast forwarded. You'll see how that goes, but there is a lot of populating done of geographical elements, and then Cody's going to bring it home with
finally putting civilization on the map.
Yeah, activity.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah. And after the 7th day, we rested, and
that's right.
We're finally going to put some towns and some roads on the map, and we're just going to talk about that a little bit in there, just because you don't have to wait for your map to be completely finished in order to start putting civilizations there. Actually, I would highly discourage you doing it that way, just because things can change over time. You could decide that it'd be much better if there was a civilization here or there or in certain locations. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but
one thing begets the other, right? So if you put something on a map, it guides your storytelling a little bit, or vice versa. Your storytelling can guide where you put things on the map. So be open, be free with that, and be flexible as you populate your world. Be ready to move things. Be ready to add a mountain or two, or a forest or two, a river. Be ready to erase, change. You got to be flexible until you're done. And maybe you're never done. Maybe you're only done when you actually self-publish or get published on your first novel. And then the only other thing you could do beyond that was have cataclysmic events, which would change the map, or you would leave places on the map that are undiscovered or uncharted, which is another thing we're going to talk about in the next video. So we hope you enjoy this. We hope you continue learning from this. Again, if you have questions, please leave a comment. Please, talk to us as much as you can through this channel, and like us, subscribe, and do all that good stuff. And we hope you enjoy this, and we'll see you when we're done with this video.
So hold on to your lug nuts.
Hold on to your lug nuts.
All right, everyone, welcome back. As you can see, a lot of progress has been made on this map. You get to see some really fun sped up time lapse stuff at the beginning of this video of mostly Chad just populating this map and really starting to feel it out. As you can see, we got a lot more forestry and greenery and a lot more things going on. This is probably not the final product or anything like that, but we're also experimenting as well with this map, doing some things we've never done before, and we're happy that we just get to be able to be on this journey with you and that you've come on it with us to take part in this and to see this thing actually get fleshed out and grow as we grow. So, what we're going to be tackling right now is just the very basics of populating this map with civilization, hamlets, villages, towns, cities, forts, etc., and the highways that interconnect them. So, we got a lot of room to play with right here, and this is about the point in your map where if you haven't started doing it yet, it would be a good job to start thinking about how you are going to populate this map. If you don't have it in your head already, and your map is starting to look something like this, where you got a lot of places filled out, you got a lot of your geography filled in, you still got plenty of room to play with things like we do here, but this is about the point where I think it would be good for you to start populating some of the towns and cities. So, an easy place to start that you can build things is considering the seafaring trade of your world. Whether it's up and down rivers, coastal towns, to some of these islands that we have all scattered throughout this map, those are places that you would definitely have, if not port cities, you would have some kind of fortress, probably, some kind of military outpost or something of that kind. So, let's actually go ahead and pick, and we are going to start with a coast because that just gets easy. So one area that I really liked the look of over here is on the far eastern side of this continent here. We got these little cluster of islands. We got this guy right here. We also have this little section right here that seems to be an open space between just massive amounts of forest. I think this would be a pretty cool spot to have a city, some kind of port town of some sort. There's a lot of places you can make these, a lot of things that you can do. So, you can always move them at any time as well. So don't think that just because you place something somewhere that it's set in stone. You hold the ability, just like we do, to undo anything that's been made here at any point in time. You create a town somewhere and you decide that that's not the way that it's going to work geographically, or you find a better location for said town, then go with that. I like the idea of having these kind of straits going on here, that this would be a great area to have some kind of civilization hosting different towns and possibly forts. So let's start right here in this little area right here. So the simplest way that you can do this, that we've done, and that some of the most popular maps, or maps that I personally like a lot, have done this. So one thing that you can do is to keep it simple, stupid, as they say. So we're going to go to our hotkey U to go to our shape tool here. And as you can see, I already have it set on the ellipse tool. Now, this is the simplest way that you can do it, is literally by just creating a circle. Hold down Shift, and you can size a perfect circle into your world. I already have the settings for the appearance to feel all black. I have no stroke, so we don't have to worry about that. a hotkey to V to go back to our pointer tool here. And now you see we got this little black dot. This little black dot represents a city or a town. And we got it catching a lot of different directions here. But this is the simplest way to do it. And this would also make your guide one of the simplest ways to do it as well. In the sense that if you built a key for this map, one thing that you would do is you would probably either color code it, or just going off of black and white maps, you would probably use circles for maybe a village. Maybe you would use a diamond for like a town or a city, and then maybe the capital of one of the countries or provinces or regions of your world could be like a star, using different shapes that mean different things in your world. If you don't have any brushes or you don't want to do anything too crazy, basic simple shapes can be your friend with a lot of this. So we're going to go to our text tool here, and once again, naming conventions completely up to you. We're just going to put a simple port town for this. And this text is really, really large for this. So yeah, 150 points. I think we're going to go ahead and shrink that down. Right here, 48. You could probably go even smaller than that. Let's go down to 36 here. There we go. Now, we got our name. As you can see, a little bit difficult to tell, but if you go back into one of our earlier videos, you can see where we laid out some of the abilities to use the layer styles, like you see here in the world spires, to stand out in your world. I'm probably going to use some different effects for this particular one because we're a smaller size font and we're kind of hovering over a bunch of forest. So really, I'm actually going to keep this simple as well. And what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to go and use a style that you've seen me use before. And we are going to go to here we go. Here we're going to go to Outer Glow. It's still set on the settings from last time. So we're going to go into our options right here, into our layer styles, and we're going to turn that white. And adjust the opacity here so it's not too glaring, but it does help it stand out. And let's go ahead and adjust the spread a little bit here. There we go. Very simple, very nice, gets the point across. And when you're doing it that way, it really helps because you can go even smaller with your font and it's going to help it stand out so you can see what is going on here. Now, that's one way that you can do it. Let's keep the name there, but another way that could be a lot of fun if you've taken advantage of things like your brush sets. What you can do is we're going to go in here and I'm actually going to go ahead and create a new layer. And then we're going to go to our brush tool. So we've done this before, but we'll do it again. If you guys want, we'll probably leave a link to these brushes. And so one thing that we have done is we got this sketchy cartography here, and it's exactly as it sounds. It is like someone has sketched on this map. Super simple ways that you can do this. Here's one that I was demonstrating earlier. We'll go ahead and zoom in to 200% here to get into the area. Little tower that we got right here. Double click just to give it some higher definition color there. Oh yeah, and we also have our opacity down, so we're going to turn that back up. There we go. So now you've got a little drawing of a fort here, just a super simple sketch style. This can help you to make things stand out a whole lot more. There's many different styles in here. That'll add just a little bit more flavor to your map, and quite frankly, I kind of like that a lot better than just simple shapes, but Not always. It just depends on said occasion. So let's go ahead and back out of that. Let's go try one of these other ones here. I'm going to go down into buildings, houses. I think that said religions because we got a couple of cathedrals and things like that here. Let's see, City 2. These are some large brushes. As you can see, I'm on the map right here, but you cannot see what the brush looks like. That's how large these brushes are. So let's resize that with our bracket tool here. There, yeah, see how large that is? But look at the insane detail that's on it. So let's go ahead and shrink it down. And unfortunately, I do really like these, but unfortunately, some of the time when you start to get this small with the size that this map is, you start to lose a little bit of detail there. But as we click right there, that looks really, really nice. With all those trees and forests and everything, let's move Port Town up a little bit here. That matches in quite nicely, and we've now populated this area of the map. These are a really, really cool brush set. And if you guys are making an expansive map, these will serve you quite well. I really like the way that one looks. We got a grouping of houses there. That looks really nice. That'd be awesome. So, whatever civilization this is, whether it's humans or elves or dwarves or some other race of beings, they have taken to this spot, this clearing in between two different types of woodlands. So, one other thing that I would do if I was founding a civilization, a country, a region, and that we had some kind of port town like this, I would probably want to populate this little island right here as well. So, in order to have a sizable defense, these straits are really nice. However, I wouldn't want somebody just moving in and occupying this particular little island without my say-so, because that gives them a very, very firm foundation to attack my town. So let's get a different brush for this. Hey, look at that. We actually do have one called Fortress here. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, yeah. That's looking beautiful. Look at all that. Got a wall and everything. I would definitely want to set this up on this island in some shape, way, or form. To scale, it's probably not completely accurate, but you really just want to be able to set it in there. And we back up because we went back to our town. Go to the right layer this time. And boom. So now we got ourselves a nice little fort set up over there. You can also do things like a fortified camp if you'd like, if you're doing something more along those lines, because that looks really cool. There's just a ton of different sets and everything in this particular world. You could probably even have a couple of forts set up on this island with the size of it. But for now, we're going to go ahead and leave that as it is. We're going to go back into our text tool here, and we're going to do Fort Schleem, because we can. Go back into our character text box here. I actually am going to make this even smaller because it is a fort, not as notable a location as this town. Going to go back over to the layers panel here, and we are going to copy layer style. Then we're going to go back over here to Fort Schleem, and we're going to paste layer style. There we go. That's going to give it that same style. And as the font changes, you can naturally change the size of this outer glow and how it works and everything like that. So we got two locations that make complete sense. You obviously have your hub, your center of trade, a port city where ships are coming in and out. This is where they're making a trade. However, to mount a sizable defense from pirates, mercenaries, or invading armies, having a fort on the island right across from you is going to make sure that your enemy cannot set up a base of operations right across from your doorstep without putting up a fight. Now, we have a couple places like this. There would obviously be more ways to get to this town than simply by boat alone. So, let's create a road. And what we're going to do here, very simple but very, very cool and fun trick. We are going to create another layer over here that I am simply going to rename as roads. This is going to house every single road and path that we make in this world. So we're going to go back to our brush tool here while we're on that layer. And this time we're going to go back to our general brushes. We're going to go hard round for the hardness being at 100%. I'm going to shrink that down a little bit. Now, back in our brush settings, we are actually going to go down to this little area down here. We see that you have a spacing slider right here. If I was to draw on this right now, this is exactly what the brush would look like. One solid line, uninterrupted, undisturbed. That's not what we need for this current situation. You can do that, and I've seen it done in different ways. However, for this particular way, what we are going to do is we're going to take the spacing slider because I like this way a lot better, and we are going to bump it up. And as you can see, watch that line change right there. Now it's a lot different. Little circles spread apart. The spacing of all of it. Because this is how Photoshop works. It is not just one continuous line. This is a repeated circle, 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 and so on with just about any other brush that you can create. So we're actually going to go up here to about 200% because I think that's what works just fine. Each one will be nicely, evenly spaced. So from there, I would start right here, and then I would just hold down, click, hold down, and then start moving. And as you can see right there, nicely evened, spaced. This is an official highway, an official road for people to follow. This is another way that they can get to your port town. Now, let's say, for example, we come all the way out here. Then what is going to happen? Well, you could probably create a new town around this area if you wanted to. And another thing that you could do, if you don't want to do that, probably what I'm going to do is right here, because we got a couple different directions to go. So I'm going to continue this road up this direction, heading north, northwest, out this way. Then we can also go back to that exact same circle, or you can judge the distance, the spacing in between those, and start a new path, and then we can create some crossroads that lead all the way down here to where maybe we have another port town somewhere down in here, or as I just see all the way down here, we do have another river. So we can actually bring this all the way into the crux of this river. And this is a resource-rich environment. You see how heavily green we have this place. It is a lush, fertile land. There's forest for hunting, lumber, all kinds of food resources. You got the river for fishing, minerals. You could probably be mining for gold as well. And the coast is not too far away. But this being the mouth of a river would be another great location for another town, another city. Because then you can get trade through the mouths of the river out into the ocean again. And this can continue on and on and on, guys. Another thing you could do is, well, these roads look a little garish on my world map. It is just these hard black dots. There are two things you can do for that. Either if you don't like the way this looks, or If you are making a path, a road less traveled, doesn't see as much action for whatever reason, maybe it leads to a cursed location, maybe it's just harsh terrain that very few people want to go through, there are two things you can do. For that second scenario, let's say you have an off-beaten path that heads completely north up to this river up here. One thing you can do is go up to your opacity in this bar, in this taskbar here, and then you can turn it down. We'll go around 50-ish%. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. 49, that's good right there. Go back to your circle and then go ahead and do the exact same thing. And lo and behold, you now have a not so starkly marked path that leads off into another direction. That's one option that you can do if you don't want these hard, solid circles on your map. Another thing to do is you could absolutely do this, and then if you decide you don't like it for whatever reason, you can always just turn down the opacity on the layer itself. And as you can see, go down to 50% here, and now we have the dots, but they don't stand out so much. I personally like them turned up, if not to the full extent, still fairly high, because I like to see where all of these things are leading. These are just a couple of examples that you can use to make your location. So just a quick recap. You can do what we have shown you here. Get some unique brush sets. If you're that talented, make your own brush sets and use those to mark your map, give them a nice little taste, a flavor of things. It'll make it stand out and just feel more lived in and like someone put a lot of effort into it. If you don't have access to those or you just can't be bothered, simple shapes always work. You can go look at some of the best maps that exist out there, and there are still quite a few that use your basic shapes, like these circles right here. So make your own key with that. Use circles for towns, diamonds for cities, stars for capitals, and then you can use any myriad of other shapes that you want to make ruins, fortresses, and all the other prime locations that you will be filling into this world. And as I said before, once you have it to this point, you have a lot better idea of why there would be cities there. It's on a coast. It's got a defensible position because you can only get to it either via the road here or by the ocean. And it's got an island that can act like a first line of defense. It's almost like a seafaring version, I guess you could say, of maybe Minas Tirith and Osgiliath. Osgiliath, the first line of defense in The Lord of the Rings. So that's one way that you can definitely look at this. You can build out so much. You can create the cultures from there. But if you've got it filled in where you have forestry, mountains, you have ecosystems, you have different climates that are going on, this will help you decide why and where to build civilizations and why people would settle there. So, hope this part has been a help, guys. It's super simple stuff, and it's actually one of the funnest parts is just filling this map out. It's just building new things and actually populating this world to where it starts to feel lived in. And that's going to be all for this little section of the video. As always, get out there and get creating.
Well,
there we go.
That was kind of intense. Lots of fast forward.
Oh yeah, time lapse, but it's so fun to watch too, and it just
it's somewhat gratifying. You know, you really you can see a lot of work done fast, but it's also neat just to see
Absolutely.
how that comes together, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's just one of those things that we already walked through a lot of those techniques and things in the early videos. So really, once you guys pretty much have the hang of it, and I don't necessarily think we're sharing like secrets of the universe with you guys.
No.
Once you guys have the basic hang of it, the hand holding is pretty much done after that. Now it's about you got to go out there and do things. You got to get it filled out. You got to go on a trip on your own, and that's going to be all up to you. Because I've also seen some wacky maps where the way that they have the world is like pretty crazy because it's most of the Earth or their planet is like uninhabitable, and you only have like small sections of it that are habitable for humans and elves and any other fantasy race that you want to make up or put in there. So it becomes a lot of here's the basic techniques, and then it's just all up to you guys to fill out your world and to do with it what you will. And start populating things. Once you have those towns, this may be another video in the future. I don't know. If you guys want it to be, I guess you can leave a comment saying so. But once you have your towns and your cities and everything, you're going to have to start really digging into that fantasy part of your brain, because now it's time for you to come up with the cultures and the ecosystems and
who's at war, right?
Yeah, who's at war.
That's Sanderson's his idea or his lecture. I remember it very well. And if you haven't watched Brandon Sanderson's lectures from BYU back on his channel that go back several years, I would implore you to watch them and learn. And that's one thing he talked about. I remember very specifically about, regions don't just exist.
Yeah.
they war and they recede, or they are ascending or they're descending, right? There is something going on. And if there's not in your world something going on politically, with wars or with peacetime, then you need to make something happen. Something needs to go on between these regions, between these monarchs, these kings, whatever system that you're using for political behaviors and movements. There needs to be histories. There needs to be things happening as we speak. Political gains, political moves. That is important and really fun, I think. Difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Difficult to keep up with it. I think that's what I would say is one of the hardest things. Mm-hmm. Is just to look at the worlds you created and understand that it's a daunting task. There's a lot there, right? There's a lot going on. And then starting to delineate all of the things that have happened over the last 5,000 years, 500 years, 5 years, however far you're going back. And at the same time, understanding what's happening now and what you want to happen, what's going to happen, what's the plot going to do. So it's daunting. It's a lot, but as I've often laughed when I thought about this, but I don't know how good you were at geography in school or how good you were at world history in school, but there's many.
I was gonna say it was one of my better subjects.
Okay, but it was your better subject. But yeah. I laugh because it's funny. Many times Cody and I have been talking, and he would tell me that he knows more about the world we've created than the world we're living in.
Yeah, there is that.
And it should be that way, unless you're just a master's level PhD in world history or U.S. history or the state you're in's history. I don't know. You should be prolifically understood and versed on the world that you've created. I mean, it should be something that you are the master of.
Right.
That's it's difficult. It's a lot. There's a lot to it, but it starts with the map. Let the map be the inspiration, precursor. Let it be the entry point for a lot of what you're creating, and trust me, you'll enjoy it. It's very visual and it's fun. It's just a great exercise. In fact, when you get tired of writing or you hit a stumbling block and you can't seem to write that day or that night, go to your map. Throw in a town, throw in a river, throw in a mountain range. Just have fun, and that's a great escape and a great way to kind of distract yourself and take the pressure off a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So one more time, you guys, if you would, give us a like, give us a subscribe, turn on the notifications so you can keep up with this journey, because we're going to be continuing to bring you stuff. And by the time this goes out, we should be coming right up on Thanksgiving. So,
Turkey Day.
yeah. So you guys, I hope you all have a great holiday, great Thanksgiving, and then we'll see you back here once we have consumed all the food there is to consume, and we will be packing on a few extra pounds for the next Creation Crucible.
Yeah, that's the last thing I need. But anyway, he's right. Thanksgiving is upon us, and then we of course know what the next day or next holiday is C Day. Christmas Day would be right on the heels of that.
Yeah.
And then we're off to a new year, and hopefully that's inspirational to you. It will be to us, and we're looking forward to the future, and we think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be bright. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for part 5.
Yes.
Coming hopefully not far on the heels of this. And please, if you enjoy these, or if you have comments or questions, just bloop them down there in the comments.
Yeah.
And we'll be excited to chat with you down there, and look forward to doing way more on this channel. And so stay tuned, and we appreciate you.